Welcome back to another Film Geek movie review. In just a moment, I am headed out the door to check out the new movie, Cheech Chong's Last Movie. Cheech Chong's Last Movie is a really interesting looking film because it's a little bit of documentary, a little bit of animated feature, and a little bit of scripted road trip comedy. Let me explain. So it's basically Cheech Chong going on a road trip to somewhere. I don't know, it doesn't really explain in the trailer. I'm guessing to a show. And while they're driving there, they're going over their career and their time in the spotlight, the highlight of the Cheech Chong career. And so that is told through different stories. They show some footage from back in the day, and there's also some animated sequences too that look like they're going to be really fun. And then, of course, you have just the chemistry of the two guys in the car, which, in all honesty, I was sitting here thinking about it, and like most of their movies follow the road trip comedy kind of movie formula. So I think it's appropriate that their last film together is going to have that exact same formula, even though it's more of a retrospective over their career, the last, good God, 50 years maybe? I honestly don't know. These two have been doing stuff forever. They have entertained generations of people across the world with their brand of stoner comedy. And let me tell you folks, I am a big fan and I am on board for anything. You say Cheech Chong, I am gonna watch it. More than likely, I'm going to enjoy it. So you know what? It is enough of me sitting here jibber-jabbering on. It is time for me to get out the door because I need to go see Cheech Chong's Last Movie. Welcome back. Just getting home from Cheech Chong's Last Movie, and guys, I thoroughly enjoyed this film. I had a blast. Even the other guy in the theater with me was laughing his butt off. Yeah, it was just me and some other dude. Alright, so let's get this started, shall we? So let's get started with the negatives, then move into the positives, then end the video on the ever so important high note. Now, negatives-wise, I really don't have a lot here because I am a big Cheech Chong fan. I was really entertained by this. I learned a lot about their past, how they came together and all. But if you're somebody who might not be a fan of Cheech Chong, who might not really enjoy their brand of comedy, this is probably not going to be for you, to be perfectly honest, because you're going to probably find it a little bit on the boring side. It is a documentary. There is a little bit of a story, I guess you could say. It's mostly like an improv kind of most part where Cheech Chong are talking back and forth on this road trip. But this is purely documentary. Now, the movie itself does do some things to make it a little bit different than most of your average documentaries. We are talking about Cheech Chong here. But at the end of the day, it is a documentary documenting the past, present, and possible future of Cheech Chong. And I really did enjoy it, and I thought I found a lot there, but I am a big fan of Cheech Chong, so I had a blast with this. Now, I will say, if you're someone who really is not very familiar with their work, you don't know much about them, maybe going to this and not learn much, but you will learn a lot once you're done with it, and it could possibly make you a fan, because in all honesty, this documentary is presented really well, and I feel like stoner culture is starting to really come to the forefront. We have so many states with legalization of marijuana. The 420 is starting to become like a holiday that people talk about, and especially in the states that have the legalization of marijuana. But it does seem like stoner culture is starting to come up more into the forefront of our society. And so if you're not really familiar with the talents of Cheech Chong, this is the foundation. This is the blueprint of all stoner comedy, where it came from. These are the guys who did it first. People might have made a drug joke, but they didn't make their entire career around drug references and smoking weed. So if you're someone who is really into the stoner culture of modern day and you don't know anything about your roots, then you will probably find a lot in this film, and you might walk away becoming a Cheech and Chong fan once you dive into their movies, their stand-up, their albums. There's so much of these two that is out there that you can consume. So if you're not someone who knows anything about these guys, you might actually learn something and you might become a fan. But if you're already familiar with Cheech and Chong, you already know you're not going to like this style of humor. You're probably not going to find much out of this film. And if you're somebody who just doesn't like documentaries, if you go into this thinking that this is really the last movie that they're going to make, well, that's kind of up in the air, to be perfectly honest, but it is 100% a documentary. Now, it is presented in different ways, so let's get into the positives. The first thing I want to talk about is the first part of the movie, when they're going into the early days of Cheech and Chong. Now, they could have just easily have done this part with just each of the guys sitting there in chairs and somebody interviewing them and talking to them and them telling stories back and forth, like you can get out of any documentary anywhere. But I thought this one was kind of cool. So before they actually became partners, what they did was they divided the two of them up. They would tell stories of the early days of their solo careers, and then everything was animated. They did these really cool, very kind of basic animated sequences during those points in the film. When we get out of the past days before they became famous, they start to get away from the animation style and then start showing more newsreels and different interviews that the two of them did throughout time. And there's some of them that I never even saw before, so it was really neat to go back and see all of those other interviews. But I really enjoyed the fact that this movie didn't just bog you down with someone sitting in front of a camera just chitter-chatting on about things. I mean, not that that's bad or nothing, it was just nice to see something to kind of break things up. When they get past the animated sequence, they start focusing more on the road trip element. If you remember in my intro, I said that this movie does have a road trip element, which is essential, of course, to a Cheech and Chong movie. And now during those sequences, you get to see a little bit more of Tommy Chong and Cheech Marin as themselves, just having conversations about their past, and I really enjoyed those sequences. You could tell that they were pretty much off the cuff, that these two guys didn't write anything down, they're just spitting, they're just talking to each other. They're talking about their past differences and so on, and it was really neat to see that dynamic in a very natural way and not in something that, plays out during an interview or something like that. It's just two guys talking to each other and just kind of hashing out their differences. So I really enjoyed the road trip element of it also. So all in all, guys, I would have to say at its foundation, this was a very enjoyable documentary that doesn't try to bog you down with normal types of documentary type stuff. Yes, we do go into the past and see some of their interviews, but we also get a lot of insight into what these two men were really like in their personal lives. And I do think that's something that we always forget about Cheech and Chong, is that they're playing characters. Now, they are big figures in the drug culture, don't get me wrong, but their characters that they portray in the movie, they're characters. That's not really them. There might be a little of them in those characters, but this documentary really shows a different side of each one of these men, and I really, really enjoyed that. So all in all, guys, I would have to say that this is something that I would say, go check this one out in theaters. If you're curious, if you're a big fan of Cheech and Chong, you are going to find something in this. You're going to learn a little bit about their past, where they came from, their families, their parents, and so on. I mean, there was a lot of stuff in this documentary that I really didn't know about the two of them, so I really enjoyed a lot of this. I remember back in the day, man, when I first discovered these guys, and my dad pulled out these old albums and like, oh, you think what you like is funny? You think that Bill and Ted thing is funny? Let's sit down. And the next thing I know, I hear, hey, yo, Dave, open up. Hey, open up. Dave's not home, man. And from that point on, I was hooked. So if you're like me and a massive fan of Cheech and Chong, you love Cheech and Chong, you celebrate them on their big holiday of 420, then this is definitely something for you to get out there and check out in theaters, support this film. If not, if you're maybe a passive fan, please stream this film because I still think it has value. Sit down, enjoy it, pop some popcorn, laugh at some of the old jokes and some of the sequences from their old movies that they throw into this, some of the newer stuff of the two of them just bantering back and forth. It's just a very very fun, natural comedy and a very well-presented documentary. So okay guys, that's all I have for you today. Thanks again for checking out the Film Geek. If you liked what you saw here today, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, ring that bell for notifications, and give me the old thumbs up so I know you like what you're seeing. And if there's one more thing you could do, folks, that is keep watching movies. You know I'm gonna.